Yours is to serve unto the last drop of your blood, that your brothers might live to fight on. Watch over them, heal them, offer up your very life should it extend theirs but a moment, and by your sacrifice the enemy be slain. And when the time comes that you must fulfill your solemn oath, speak clearly, speak proudly, speed the bolt that brings his end, and send him joyous to the Emperor's side. Then do your duty, take that which is due, and know your mission is done. The Adeptus Astartes wage war upon untold war zones which span the length and breadth of the galaxy. Each Space Marine risking their precious gene seed inherited from proven warriors of yore. Each chapter must ensure the painstaking process of retrieving such organs, lest another promising warrior be denied their glory. For today, we shall elucidate the brave combat medics who charge into the thick of battle, risking life and limb to preserve their brethren's legacies. The Healing Angels, the Apothecaries. To sustain the war machine of the Angels of Death is a laborious process of trial and error. The sheer magnitude of sacrificed lives during initiation, training, and deployment, a colossal price paid in blood. Unlike the creeds of the Librarium, Forges, and Reclusiam, aspirants of the Apothecarian typically must be proven worthy in battle prior to their specialization, the need to draft individuals who know firsthand the cost of war, galvanizing the duty placed in their hands. The number of such specialists varying from chapter to chapter, nevertheless, none can survive without a cadre of such physicians, their own Space Marine physique allowing for their intimate understanding of the myriad organs and adaptations made to their flesh. Assigned to the command sections of every company in order to tend to fresh wounds incurred in battle and salvage precious gene seed from fallen kindred, apothecaries often are the first port of call in judging whether grievously wounded battle brothers are capable of being salvaged and interred within dreadnought sarcophagi. Responsible for pulling Space Marines too far gone to survive the most brutal of engagements from the brink of death. In dire circumstances, each shall administer chemicals into the subject's Laraman's organ to ensure sealing of even the most fatal of wounds. Balancing their duty to preserve their brethren while slaying the enemies of the Imperium, it is a fatal error to believe that apothecaries are by any means diminished in their combat efficacy, as their bolters, blades, and even bone saws rend their enemies into bloody ruin. Trained in all manner of field medicine, surgeries, and biomedical research, the knowledge imparted to these warriors, combined with their countless heroic acts to save their comrades in arms, sees them in high standing among every chapter, regardless of their beliefs. Monitoring the characteristics of each battle brother's gene seed for signs of mutation or corruption, the shadow cast by potential extinction of their creed looms large above the apothecaries' heads. Their duties both within and without battle rivaling the toil of even their tech marine brethren. As a tech savant tends to the workings of their war machines, the apothecary tends to his brother's physical well-being, often working in tandem with the chaplain order as they balm their kinsmen's spiritual traumas. Withholding a contingent of their number within the chapter's apothecarian, who take to the field of battle only during dire circumstance, these experts of Astartes physiology train new recruits to their order, while safekeeping the precious gene seed repositories under their care. Frozen catacombs connected to their domains, housing sealed flasks of progenoid glands, neuroglottis, biscopia, and other Space Marine organs. Within the apothecarian, future generations of Space Marines are crafted, requiring immense skill from the assembled surgeons of the chapter. Monitoring successful candidates of their creed, following successful integration of their new organs. Only those within the fold know the results of such examinations, which remain concealed from prying eyes. Unwilling to allow for even a single mutation to spread through the ranks of their chapter, tithes of pure gene seed, typically at 5% of the chapter's stock, are routinely tithed to the Adeptus Terra to be screened and stored away should a new founding be required. Their primary objective during all deployments to achieve completion of their mission, their task of tending to the wounded must not interfere with the parameters of their success. Their duty to salvage progenoid glands of little value should their own life or that of their kin be sacrificed to procure such organs. The loss of such catalysts for Space Marine creation to their enemies, a barb of shame to which they shall never absolve themselves. Rapid withdrawals from combat are the greatest struggles of an apothecary, as they attempt to rapidly extract such organs from their fallen. Piercing their slain brother's ceramite using their Narfesium's reductor to punch a hollow blade directly into the flesh, progenoid glands are withdrawn using suction and stored within sterilized canisters to prevent their deterioration. The sight of an apothecary darting into masses of enemies or bounding through the no-man's land of war zones to retrieve such priceless body parts by no means rare. Whilst many charge into battle for glory alone, these warriors shoulder the burden of their chapter's very survival. Thralls of the Great Devourer, by far the greatest nemesis of the Apothecarian, the Tyranid's consumption of all biomass, including gene seed, is an affront to which the Apothecaries cannot forgive. The reconstitution of the Primarch's genetic legacy, a sin so grave that such white seraphs often give in to their emotions, wading through hordes of chitinous beasts to reach their fallen kin. Destroying gene seed only when no alternative is possible, the shame of such an act is preferable to its consumption by Xenos, or twisting into fuel for the creation of Chaos Space Marines. Replacing injured legs, livers, hearts, and even skin with vat-grown replacements when needed. Damaged limbs are beyond even the expertise of the Apothecarian, and require bionic replacements grafted with oversight from the chapter's tech marines. Such bespoke appendages sutured to muscle and affixed to the bone with screws. The subject's nerve endings are interwoven with monofilament receptors in order to respond with their new bearer's neural impulses. Organs such as eyes improved upon with augmetics, while few chapters supplant their body parts with the fervor of the scions of the Iron Hands. Some Astartes find such cybernetic replacements to be a boon for their combat effectiveness. Reclaiming salvaged mechanisms from such warriors following their demise, the war gear of revered heroes of the chapter finds new purpose, now outfitted to worthy inheritors of such artifice. In order to truly comprehend the duties of an apothecary, an overview of Space Marine physiology is required. Their combined 19 organs of firstborns now exceeded to 22 with the innovations of Archmagos Belisarius Calls Primaris. During the first phase of surgeries, aspirants, optimally between the ages of 10 to 12, are implanted with a secondary heart. Its need to sustain blood flow during subsequent procedures paramount, whilst also aiding their survival in low oxygen environments. The second phase of surgeries, introducing the osmodular organ, which secretes hormones to improve ossification of bone structure and absorption of ceramic-based chemicals from their diet, forming new growths to the subject's skeleton, which within the span of 2 years fuses their ribcage into a solid mass. Their lengthened bones shall also encourage not only larger standing, but denser constitution. The Biscopia, integrated during the third phase of surgeries. This small circular addition to the chest cavity releases hormones which bolster muscle growth and allows for the adoption of future, more intrusive surgeries. The fourth and fifth, ideally administered between the ages of 12 and 14. The first addition of the hemastamen into the subject's circulatory system increases hemoglobin within the bloodstream, carrying increased oxygen to the cells. The Laramans organ, fitted to the circulatory system within the chest cavity during phase 5, the so-called Laraman cells attach to white blood cells, and with contact with the air, form into scar tissue near instantaneously. After a bout of hypnotherapy during the ages of 14 to 17, the catalepsian node is attached to the back of the brain. Its influence over the circadian rhythm of the host, allowing for walking sleep by sequentially shutting down unnecessary brain function. While not a replacement for sleep, such a function allows Space Marines to remain active for extended periods of time, when needed, requiring as little as 4 hours of sleep every 2 weeks. Phase 7 to 15, optimally administered between the ages of 14 to 16, starting with the Priomnor organ. This ostensible pre-stomach neutralizes ingested poisons, acting as a means to decontaminate hazardous nutrient intake. Next is the Omophagia, an implant fitted to the spinal cord, known simply as the Remembrancer. 4 nerve bundles implanted to the subject's stomach wall, allowing for the extraction of information through ingested genetic materials. Experiencing memories residing typically within the brain matter, this organ has been the cause of many mutations as a result of blood rituals conducted by chapters such as the Blood Drinkers, Flesh Tearers, and other Ninth Legion successors. The multi-lung, implanted during the 9th phase to allow for breathing in toxic-rich or oxygen-deprived environments. Whilst the host primary lungs are shut down, this alternative allows for breathing within the harshest of environments and even underwater. The oculove organ, administered to the base of the brain during Phase 10. This organ provides stimuli to the bearer's eyes, allowing for enhanced vision even within low-light conditions, and visual clarity reaching 2 kilometers of distance. Phase 11, replacing the Space Marine's ears with Lyman ears, which allows for immunity to dizziness or motion sickness. Such an addition also allows the subject to enhance and filter out sounds when needed. The Suz-Anne membrane, or hibernator implant, administered above the brain during Phase 12. This membrane requires follow-up chemical therapy to train the user to enter a state of suspended animation in response to physical trauma. Crucial when suffering mortal wounds or being stranded far from rescue. The longest record of a Space Marine surviving in such a state belongs to Brother Silas of the Dark Angels, who was revived after 567 years of dormancy. Phase 13, providing the melanchromatic organ, which controls melanin production within the host. When exposed to extreme levels of sunlight or radiation, the bearer's skin shall darken to protect their bodies. The oolytic kidney of the 14th phase, working in conjunction with the secondary heart to filter poisons from the bloodstream. Such emergency detoxifications render the host unconscious should they contract deadly diseases, as it rapidly cleanses the body. The 15th to 19th phases of surgeries, the last incurred by firstborn Marines, typically between the ages of 16 to 18. Their first neuroglottis organ enhances the Astartes taste buds, allowing for chemical analysis and tracking of foes through sampling residue when present within the air. Unconventional chapters such as the Crimson Castellans have reveled in their bolstered sense of taste to indulge in fine wines, which have now been adapted to being used as a means to now activate their gene seed organs. Phase 16, administering the mucranoid gland, responsible for coating sweat with heat and cold-resistant substances. Even the vacuum of space can be endured with the introduction of such enhanced perspiration. The Betcher's gland, consisting of 2 parts added to the lower lip, salivary glands, or hard palate, included during Phase 17. This organ, resembling those of venomous reptiles, concocts a corrosive poison which, when spat, is capable of burning through metal given enough time. 2 progenoid glands, administered to the neck and chest cavity, which in time shall mature into full-fledged gene seed. Their absorption of genetic material over time feeds their corresponding zygotes over the span of 5 to 10 years, which then mature into new gene seed to be harvested upon death. The final surgery for firstborn Space Marines, that of the black carapace, grafted to their bodies during Phase 19. This film-like layer, inserted beneath the subject's skin in sheets, hardens on their outside surface, merging with invasive neural bundles. Outfitted with interface points and neural sensors to allow for the direct merging with their power armor. Space Marines and Custodians alone can survive such a procedure, which allows their panoplies to act like a second skin, capable of feeling sensations of touch, even through its dense layers. Capable of being attached to vehicle interface ports, which connect directly to their spines. While even Inquisitors can utilize power armor alike to exoskeletons, Space Marines truly merge with their cybernetics, perfected by the toil of the human scientist Ezekiel Sedane. Known flaws during such phases of procedures befalling several chapters of Astartes, whilst the Black Dragons suffer bony growths on their foreheads, elbows and forearms as a result of their Rosmodula, the venerated Space Wolves continue to suffer from the Canis Helix within their genetic code, which is said to turn their men into savage beasts. The Scions of Sanguinius, conducting a bespoke 20th phase of surgeries, known to them as insanguination. Each neophyte drinks genetic materials derived from their gene seed, which acts as a catalyst to activate the true potential of their organs. Their overactive omophagia, rumored to be the cause of their genetic flaw, known as the Red First. Some of their successors, such as the Blood Drinkers, suffer more grievously from their affliction due to their organs being more greatly mutated. Primara Space Marines, given additional organs to improve upon their efficacy in battle. During Phase 3, alpha sinew coils of Durometic coil cables, also known as the steel within, are added to their sinews, adding greater layers of defense to their tendons and ligaments. The Magnificat organ, also known as the amplifier, added to the patient's brain core to secrete additional growth hormones into their bodies, allows their larger stature to be achieved, pushing the osmodular and biscopia organs into overdrive. Designed to mimic a fraction of the so-called Immortis gland, or Godmaker, found within each of the Primarch's brains. Only designs for the right half of the Immortis gland, the dextrophic lobe, could be uncovered for replication, whilst the left half, the Syntardius, seems to have been redacted from the Primarch Project archives by an unknown force. The final addition, known as the Belisarian Furnace, usually added alongside the Primaris Alpha Phase surgeries. This dormant organ, also known as the Revitalizer, connects both hearts of an Astartes, and in times of extreme trauma, expels a concoction of regenerative combat stims. The Angels of Death, so far removed from humanity following such alterations to their form, it is no wonder why brothers within their own creed bear responsibility for safekeeping their imposing forms, with all the methods entrusted to their care. In order to maintain the physical health standards of the Adeptus Astartes, the apothecaries require a multitude of tools to perform their procedures. Most crucial is that of the Narthecium, a large gauntlet module which often works in tandem with back-mounted armatures fitted with antivenoms, stim packs, and concoctions capable of healing Astartes tissue. Coupled with an adamantine tooth chainsaw blade or high-powered laser scalpel, necessary to cut through ceramite in order to administer transfusion, organ repair, or retrieve gene seed progenoids, skin grafts and counterseptic are tucked inside such bulky compartments. Modified to best suit the needs of its user, every Narthecium includes a device known as the Emperor's Piece. This spring-loaded metal piston, known as a Carnifex, resembling a pistol, ends the suffering of doomed space marines quickly once fired directly into the brain. Housing poisons capable of killing space marines swiftly as a secret known only to the Apothecarian and high-ranking members of the Adeptus Terra. Should malfunction of the Emperor's Piece or Narthecium entire be sustained, massive heart failure shall be the alternative to end the suffering of wounded battle brothers. Carbon alloy reductors designed to extract progenoid glands connected to cryoreceptacles which store such precious organs. It is no mystery as to why Narthecium are so cumbrous due to how many tools are crammed into their constitution. Several chapters using variant models of Narthecium in order to best administer to their kindred's unique biological quirks, whilst the sanguinary priests of the Blood Angels regard their Emperor's Piece device as an Acus Placidus, their Narthecium are known as exsanguinators. Each exsanguinator said to contain a shard of a shattered blood chalice blessed with the divine presence of Sanguinius. While not every sanguinary priest carries grails of the chapter into battle, every one bears a fragment of the relic's majesty in the tools of their trade. Wolf priests of the Space Wolves chapter deeming their Narthecium as Fangs of Morkai, as befits their superstitious beliefs. Its additional storage capabilities contain balms, herbs, and poultices derived from the Fenrisian tribes. A more robust design of standard Narthecium, known as the Hagen pattern, capable of boring deeper than its standard iteration. The typical chain blade is replaced with a saw disc, allowing swifter, if not messier, retrieval of gene seed, and capability to pierce Terminator armor. The mark of armor plating to be worn at the discretion of each individual apothecary. One commonality of both Firstborn and Primaris Space Marines is their preference for diagnostic helmets, upgraded with superior autosenses and readout displays to better identify maladies and traumas within the thick of battle. Primaris apothecaries, clad in Mark X Tacticus power armor. While their use of Terminator plate is by no means impossible, its slower mobility requires its use only rarely, often during Space Hulk kill team insertions. Armed with chainswords, standard issue bolt pistols, and in the case of Primaris, Absolver bolt pistols. While every apothecary is required to be a warrior first and foremost, they do not carry heavy weaponry into battle. Their backpack-mounted appendages and Narthecium saw blades are a fine substitute for melee weapons when required. Many a combat medic's life has been saved by his trusty bone saw within particularly fraught engagements. Each proven apothecary proudly displaying the sigil of their order, the Prime Helix, upon their armor. The symbol of the Emperor's divine genome, to which all Space Marines are molded, is a fitting symbol of their order, representing their chapter's genetic code and duty to craft new warriors using gene seed salvage from fallen heroes of their creed. These field medics, clad in white ceramite panoplies, are easily identifiable to both friend and foe alike. Each squad blessed with the safeguarding of an apothecary, protecting their battle brother from harm when necessary. Typical deployments require such combat medics to remain within the core of their squad, surrounded by their kinsmen to best form a wall of vengeance between themselves and their foes. Their right pauldrons remaining devoted to the traditional heraldic motifs of their respective chapters. Only should they be seconded to the chamber militant of the Ordo Xenos, the Death Watch, shall an apothecary yield the healer's white for the black of duty, often retaining white trim on his pauldron to identify his stature. a uniquely difficult role within the Death Watch, which earns requisite trust and respect from their fellows. Each apothecary must swear an oath never to reveal the genetic mutations of those they serve with should they complete their tour of duty and return to their respective chapter of origin. Ever alert for risks of contamination due to their kill team's deployment within war zones rife with bacterial abundance, Xenos fauna, and on occasion, warp trickery. While some fell Xenos reproduce via parasitic infection, the greatest foe of the apothecarian, the Tyranids, are also an ever-present threat which the Death Watch must face. Administering exhaustive genetic and metabolic screening tests to all of their kinsmen prior to each and every engagement. Should the Death Watch err for even a moment of laxity, their entire watch fortress can become vulnerable to corruption from within. Aiding watch captains in their training regimens to best monitor their well-being, the elite remain so only by pushing themselves to the furthest extent of their limit, and thus require close scrutiny to maintain optimal martial prowess. Able to interface with Deathwatch Battle Brothers' advanced armor systems remotely, apothecaries are capable of limiting blood oxygen levels, disabling of damaged limbs, or chemically induced resistance to combat poisons to best counter wounds incurred in battle. Their burden to reclaim progenoid glands, all the heavier with the legacies of several chapters now tethered to their actions. It is perhaps the greatest shame of an apothecary to fail in their duty to return such priceless organs to their slain kinsman's chapter. Bespoke variants of standard apothecaries, created by chapters, requiring unique duties of their healers. The sanguinary priests of the Brotherhood of Sanguinius tend to the afflictions of the Red First, which the majority of the successors of the Ninth inherit. Gifted orators, capable of inspiring their kindred to overcome the suffering of their gene flaws. The blood of the great angel flows through their veins, and thus is used to activate the gene seed of their kinsmen. Drawing their vitae to be drunk from their artifact, the Red Grail, during their ritual of insanguination. High Priest Corbulo carries this relic into battle, whilst the lingering spirit of his Primarch, tethered to its majesty, is said to impart those around it with renewed vigor. Smaller blood chalices, also carried by junior sanguinary priests as a badge of office. Though these relics are said to have once been vessels of the Great Angel's blood, many have been lost over the millennia. Wolf Priests of the Rout, combining the roles of apothecary and chaplain into a hybrid of the two. These severe warriors tend to the physical and spiritual health of their kin, relying heavily on their inherited wisdom of the Fenrisian tribes. Demanding all initiates of the Space Wolves to drink a concoction derived from their gene seed from the Cup of Wulfen. Such a ritual, likewise to the insanguination of the Blood Angels, activates their aspirant's gene seed. Awakening the Canis Helix, which bolsters each aspirant's sense of smell, hearing, skin resilience, and elongation of their fangs. This feral aspect of the chapter must be kept in check by the Wolf Priests, lest the curse of the Wulfen run rampant within their ranks. Apothecaries of the elite chamber militant of the Ordo Malleus, the Grey Knights, carrying among the greatest burdens of the Space Marine Creed. To lose a single progenoid of warriors, derived from the Emperor himself, is a sin beyond measure. Trained in advanced combat triage methods and learning sacred rites to aid in the creation of new Grey Knights recruits, their kindred form shield walls around such priceless specialists when deployed in battle, as these unique combat medics harness the power of the Psyker against demon foes alike to all members of their unique chapter. The Emperor Spears chapter regarding their apothecaries as druids in the same manner as their chaplains, tech marines and librarians, all wear black ceramite as they perform their duties, acting as a unified creed of mystics and artisans. While the Iron Hands utilize apothecaries at a glance in typical fashion, their chapter's disdain for flesh causes the role of such healers to verge more into the territory of tech marines, as they take any and all opportunity to replace damaged organs and limbs with mechanical alternatives. Healers of the White Scars preferring to administer their arts within the transport bays of moving rhino transports as they hunt the foes of their chapter. Apothecaries of the Mortifactors, by contrast, ponderously claim macabre trophies from enemies and slain kinsmen alike, whilst conducting their duties. Apothecaries fall into chaos, transforming into fell parodies of their once noble pursuits. Among the ranks of the Death Guard, their so-called plague surgeons abandon conventional medical procedures in deference to their disgusting pursuit of fell knowledge. The flesh of their kindred, far beyond all concepts of restoration, cleanliness, or whatever could be considered health. Each plague surgeon incubates parasites inside their bodies, doting on them alike to ghoulish fathers. Their every touch spreading plague and contagion as they exhale spores from their lungs. Their Malformed Narfecium dispense vials of macrostimulants, which imbue the followers of Nurgle with renewed strength and sickness. Continuing their duty to procure gene seed from fallen space marines, now as an act of theft. These followers of the Grandfather seek to corrupt their spoils from loyalist Astartes in order to create Plague Marines anew. The Berserker Surgeons of the World Eaters, also known as Butcher Surgeons, meddling in the arts of fleshcraft with abandon. Their 10 millennia of experimentation has allowed Khornate warbands to accelerate their recruitment drives, using forbidden procedures dating back to the era of the Horus Heresy. Forming pacts with demon entities in order to create abominations using C's loyalist gene seed. Even the most bloodthirsty Chaos Lord must retain Berserker Surgeons within their warbands in order to continue their slaughter in the name of Khorne. Few in number at present, as the ravages of the Long War take their toll. These artisans of pain remain among the few capable of implanting the fell butcher's nails of Angron into the skulls of captured initiates, and thus are prized by their allies. Primaris apothecaries of the era Indomitus, now trained to procure Xenos biological samples from battle in order to best understand weaknesses to exploit. Their improved armor designs, surgical tools, and constitution have breathed new life into the Apothecarian creed. Procuring materials to be housed within Vivispectrum devices for further study. Foes such as that of High Fleet Leviathan require ingenious new solutions in order to defeat, and thus these innovations of Archmagos Belisarius Cawl fight within elite strike forces of the Imperium Sanctus to gather samples. For with the rise of the Primaris and rejuvenation of their genetic purity, the Angels of Death take to the field with renewed purpose, and as the untold foes of humanity adapt to overcome such a threat, the Apothecary Biologists seek any and all means to maintain the survival of their brethren.
Pain and death are illusions of the weak mind. While his gene seed returns to the chapter, a battle brother cannot die. Without death, pain loses its relevance. He that may still fight, heal. He that may fight no longer, give him peace. He that is dead, take from him the chapter's due.
This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. The wounds inflicted by life struggles can bury deep both physically and mentally. The events of a single day changing one's life inexorably by the results of an unforeseen struggle. Balms available not only in the form of physical treatment to injury, but also empathic words, gestures of compassion, and acts of service. Many suffer alone without such comforts to speed their recovery. Not all afflictions require a single person's toil to heal, and often it is the smallest actions which can improve a person's well-being. The merest acknowledgement or offering of aid, enough to staunch the wounds of loneliness, fear, and anxiety. So offer help when able, for it takes a keen eye to recognize when your kindred suffer in silence. For often the simple gesture of a hand offered to aid them in their plight is enough to restore a person's well-being.